phone call without punching in 59 numbers.
Okay, good evening. Would like to call the meeting to order.
Good speaker.
Again, I'm going to make sure that I memorize this since Chairman Orsini seems to walk away with the opening statement. Well, we have, this is tonight's regular meeting of the Franklin Township Zoning Board of Adjustment, following all the state requirements of the municipal land use law, and has been duly noticed. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Betterbid,
Yes.
Ms. Grumman,
Here.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. McCracken, Mr. Rich,
Here.
Mr. Shepherd,
Here.
Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Rosenthal,
Here.
Mr. Reese, Mr. O'Connell,
Here.
Chairman Thomas.
Here. No minutes, no resolutions. Discussion amounts to a voucher, April retainer for $865. Is there a motion to?
I move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. First hearing, Ari Nahar and Julie Susserman, ZBA 13-00002, hardship variance in which applicant is looking to amend the original application to renovate the existing home and put in a garage at 475 Canal Road, Somerset, block 59.01, lot 2.01 in the CP zone. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Do I need to hold that, or?
Hold it, yes, you do.
Close to your.
Right to your
close
mouth,
your
like a
fa-
rock star.
Okay, got it. Well, I won't
Turn the
make
mi-
this-
Closer.
Make sure that it's
Closer.
on.
Turn the mic on.
Michael Sullivan, the firm is Stickle.
What do you think? Is he on, Vince?
It's not on.
Not on.
There's two switches.
This is often a difficult part of any approval.
Yeah, this is the worst part of the meeting.
We'll start again.
All right.
There you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Sullivan. I'm from the firm of Stickle, Koenig, Sullivan, and Drill. I'm here on behalf of the property owners, Ari Behar and Julie Susserman. Property is 475 Canal Road, Block 59.01, Lot 2.01. Just a little bit of history for the board. Some members were on the board when back on July 9th, 2009, the board adopted a resolution granting the property owners a number of variances in connection with their proposal at that time to demolish the existing single-family home and construct a new home behind it. The property owners elected not to go forward with that project. They've grown attached to the existing home. They decided the better way to do this was to do some renovations and additions to that home. The proposal really in front of you now is scaled back from the application that was previously approved. And it's also less intrusive on the property with the setbacks and so forth. We still do need a number of variances. We need a front yard setback of 88.78 feet, where a minimum of 100 feet is required. We need a rear yard setback variance of 175.62 feet, where a minimum of 200 feet is required. Maximum building coverage of the principal building, we're seeking 3.15%, which slightly exceeds the maximum of 3% allowed. We are going to disturb areas with slopes greater than 25%. We're seeking approval to permit a structure within 100 feet within the 100-foot stream corridor buffer area, and the setback from DNR Canal Park of approximately 130 feet, where a minimum of 250 feet is required. Those are all variances relating to the new construction. There are variances we've asked for relating to existing conditions. They're set forth in your zoning officer's memo. They relate to lot area, lot frontage, lot width at the setback line, and lot depth. That's the relief we're asking for. For the most part, the relief we're seeking is either the same that what was granted the last time, or in a number of cases less. For example, the rear yard setback that was approved the last time was 84 feet to the house and 59.2 feet to the garage. Our proposed rear yard setback is 175.62 feet. And the building coverage in the previously approved plan of the principal building was 3.9%, and we're down to 3.15%. And finally, the impervious coverage, which we initially applied for a variance, we no longer need because we're going to revise the plans to eliminate the pool. So the impervious coverage is eliminated, that variance, and the setback to the pool from the front, from the street. Both of those variances are eliminated.
So you're gonna fill in the pool?
Correct. I can also tell the board that HPC on January 9, 2013 issued a certificate of appropriateness, so we've gone through that step. And my plan tonight is to call one witness. It's Mr. Parker, who's to my right, so I'm going to ask that he be sworn in.
Pick up the mic.
Probably gonna need that other mic. Okay,
This one has no, it's a red light, so I'm assuming that's why it's not working.
okay. Solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record.
Steve Parker, Parker Engineering.
If you're going to be questioning, you might want to see if that mic, which comes out of the holder there, works.
Yeah, it looks like it works.
Okay, good.
Doesn't sound like it works.
Yeah, it does.
The green light is on. Does that mean, am I
Yeah.
holding it close enough?
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay.
Mr. Parker, you're a licensed professional engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And I understand Mr. Parker has testified before the board. Can we waive going through his qualifications and accept him?
He's licensed, he's been here before, so.
And you're still licensed, correct?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Mr. Parker, you're familiar with the site, having been on it on a number of occasions, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
And in preparation for your testimony tonight, did you review the zoning ordinance of the Township of Franklin?
Yes, I did.
And in fact, you prepared the plans that are before the board for approval bearing a revision date of March 5, 2013, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, I'm going to ask that you go through the existing conditions on the site, just briefly.
Yeah, we've submitted a set of plans. The plan that I have on the board here behind me is the same set of plans that the board has in front of them. There's no changes to that. So I'm just going to refer to that. And right now, I'm looking at sheet number 2 on the plans. There's an existing dwelling on the property. It's been there for quite a while, a number of years. There's an existing garage, there's a shed, and there's a stable that's in the back. The site has really remained unchanged for the most part since the last time, since the prior application back in 2010. So there's really been no changes. The property is on Canal Road. For those who don't remember, it's in the CP zone, Canal Preservation Zone. This is a lot that is 2.3 acres in size. The zone requires a 6-acre minimum lot size. It's an existing lot, so it is presently undersized from what the zone requires. But those are the existing conditions. The house is located actually, it's quite a bit higher in elevation than Canal Road is. Just to remind the board, there's a steep slope in the front of the property that rises up, and you really can't see the house from the road unless you're really looking for it, because it's quite a bit higher. It's about 20 feet higher, maybe even more than that, 20 or 25 feet higher than the road. And there's that, on that embankment that's along the road, there's a substantial wooded buffer that exists. And
Is this house down by the terracotta factory? Down by that part of Canal Road?
I'm not sure where that, I don't believe so. I'm not sure where that is. Grouser Road is just to the.
Oh, you're way the other end, okay.
Yeah.
You're way the other end, all right.
Yeah, so
Thinking
it's,
the two applications are.
really, there's not much around here. Grouser Road, there's a house on the corner there. This property is kind of,
Grouser Road kind of establishes where it is.
okay, great, super. So that's really those are the existing conditions that are out there. There's really, like I said, no substantial changes to the property since the last time we were here for the prior application. The changes really are not that significant. I think the attorney described that there's going to be an addition onto the home. That's shown on the architect's plans, I think, that were also submitted, but it's also shown again on sheet number 2 of our site plans. And if you look at the house, you can see the existing dwelling is planned to be remodeled. That's going to remain substantially from the outside, the same footprint, but there's going to be an addition onto the left-hand side. As you're looking at it from the street, that's a proposed addition. It's going to be a garage on the lower floor with the second story above that.
How many square feet is the house as it exists?
I have the footprint numbers. I'm not sure what the total volume is. I have the footprint of the house. The existing house is 1,740 square feet. You know what I mean? You know what I mean by footprint, right?
I'm good,
Okay,
yep.
Okay. The proposed house is going to be just a little over 3,100 square feet.
Okay,
31,500.
so it's being remodeled, but it's really much more than that. It's really being,
Remodeled and increased in
expanded.
size.
Yeah, okay,
Absolutely,
good.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's correct. And as part of this application, you know, the garage that's proposed is going to be attached to the existing dwelling. The existing detached garage is going to be removed, as is the shed and the stable that are on the property. Those existing accessory buildings are going to be removed, quite frankly, because they're not needed anymore. We're also going to be removing the pool. The plan shows that the pool is to remain, but there's been a change. My client would like to remove the pool and pool equipment, so that has been removed from the application.
so in other words, what appears on sheet 2 is not entirely accurate. That pool's going to be gone.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that change was made after we had submitted the plan
All right.
already. And what that does is that changes our impervious coverage number. The proposed impervious coverage number was 10.4%, which is in excess of what the zone allows. 10% is what's allowed. This plan showed 10.4% proposed. By removing the pool, it actually brings it down under 10%. It brings it down to 8.9% impervious coverage. So that's one of the variances that we had, that's mentioned in the zoning officer's report, that's really no longer being requested this evening.
The pool doesn't add or subtract pervious coverage.
Yeah, it does.
That's why I'm a little confused, because the pool,
The wet part doesn't add any.
no,
He's got.
no,
he's got
if you're
stuff running
removing
outside.
concrete, it does, but the pool itself, it doesn't factor into the impervious coverage.
Okay, in the calculations that we did on our plan, it did.
Okay, so you,
We may have miscalculated that or done it improperly, but that's included, and the numbers are shown on sheet number 2 of the plans.
so, okay,
We included the pool and the decking that's around the pool. That amount is, on the plans it's shown as 1,540 square feet. That's no longer going to be part
Okay.
of the.
Okay, good,
So
good.
It eliminates that. And it does include the pool and the decking around it. So in addition to that, there was a variance that was required for the setback distance, a front yard setback. 100 foot is required, and because of the existing pool, that being where it is, that was at 64 feet. Since that's being removed, that's no longer a variance that we're going to be requesting any further either. So that's really the extent of the changes. Included with the plan is going to be a new septic system as part of this application. A new well is being proposed also. Those will require, and of course, get approval from the health department. We're also proposing dry wells as part of the application to capture runoff from the roof areas and direct that into the ground. The testing for that has already been completed. And there's going to be some driveway widening. The last time this application was presented to the board, one of the comments from the fire official was that they would like to see the driveway widened. If you look at the plans, it is a little bit narrow. It's an existing gravel driveway, and what happens is it kind of goes up from Canal Road. It proceeds up the hill along the edge of the slope there. And the fire official requested the last time that driveway actually be widened to accommodate their vehicles. So this application here is the same as it was before. We just did the same thing. We kept that part of the application the same, and the fire official did review these plans, and he had no comments. So I'm assuming that meets with his approval. So that's really the extent of the changes on the property. We're getting rid of some accessory buildings. We're going to put the addition into the house. We're removing the pool, and we'll be constructing a new septic system.
Okay, so there are some variances that you referenced in your testimony, but we're encroaching on the DNR Canal Park, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. The house is where it is. It's where it's located. We're adding on to that. So because of that, that is still another variance because we're
Yeah,
encroaching.
but that's not us, right?
It was referenced as a variance, so we noticed for it.
Vince, do we have to approve a variance from the Delaware and Raritan Canal?
Yes.
Okay, I was wrong.
We still need to get approval from them
Okay.
also, and we've
All right.
applied to them, and we'll be working with them
All right.
to secure their approval also.
Okay, and specifically also, we are disturbing slopes which are greater than 25%, and that is in which area?
Yeah, that's along the driveway area, where the driveway goes up into the property, along the right-hand side as you're proceeding into the lot. There's some steep slopes there. And as a result of the request from the park official that the driveway be widened, we can't widen the driveway on the left-hand side. If you look at the plan, there's a stream on the left-hand side of the property, there's wetlands, and there's a flood riparian buffer. So we can't increase the size of the driveway and encroach any further on that, which is why we're widening it on the right-hand side. Just so happens that it's in a greater than 25% slope. It's a small area. I don't think it'll have any significant impact to the site.
You heard in my introductory comments that in 2009, the board approved rear yard setbacks of 84 feet to the house and 59.2 feet to the garage. We're now proposing a 175-foot setback. Just talk about the impacts on the rear yard with this project compared to the first one.
Yeah, the last project involved raising this house and constructing a new house further back on the property. So it was much further in the back. It was closer to the rear line. So by eliminating that and just keeping the addition basically in the location of the proposed, or the existing house, that gets, of course, closer to conforming to what the requirements are for the zone.
What are you doing with the existing garage and the little shed back there?
Those are being removed.
Okay. Sorry, didn't hear that.
Okay, anything else you want to say on identifying the variances themselves?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, now, as a professional planner, do you think that this property has peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties that give rise to a hardship to the property owners?
Yeah, I do. It's an existing lot. This is this is a 2.3 acre lot that's in a 6 acre zone. The setbacks, the coverage numbers are really all geared for a much larger lot. So a lot of those variances, most of those variances are really designed, or as a result of the design for larger properties in this case. Because of the fact that it is an existing property, and it's got an existing house where it's located, by nature of the fact that we're putting an addition onto it, it's going to require those variances.
Okay, in order for the board to grant variances, they have to meet two prongs of the negative criteria. The first one is substantial detriment to the public good. That's the impact on area properties. Is there any adverse impact on area properties if this is approved?
No, I don't see any at all. The surrounding properties are well, I don't think there's any homes really within probably 500 feet of this house. The surrounding properties are largely undeveloped tracts. There's no neighbors that are immediately adjacent to this lot, so I don't see any impact to any of the surrounding properties. The house itself is really not visible from the road unless you're looking really hard, just because of the elevation change. So I don't see any negative impact to the surrounding properties at all.
What about any adverse impact to the intent and purpose of the zone plan or zoning ordinance?
No, I don't see that. Again, this is an existing property, just for the same reasons. It's an existing property. It's really not going to impact any of the adjoining lots. But the variances that are being requested are really the result of the fact that the lot is undersized for the zone.
All right, you've given testimony with regard to the C1 hardship. Now, under C2, in order to get a variance under C2, purposes of the municipal land use law must be advanced. And have you reviewed the purposes of the MLUL, and are there any purposes advanced by approving this application?
Yeah, there are, and I've highlighted those on here, and I'll just go ahead and read what those are right out of the municipal land use law. The purpose C says to provide adequate light, air, and open space. Purpose G says to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of residential developments in order to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. And purpose I says to promote a desirable visual environment. And I think this application does all those things, just when taken in whole.
And we've received a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Commission, so it's consistent with that idea also, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And do these benefits substantially outweigh any detriments?
Yes, I think they do.
Okay. Mr. Parker, we received a whole slew of reports, most of which had no comment. However, there were 4 of them that I think we should at least briefly address. The first one is the Township Engineers Report of March 14, 2013. There are 10 comments under the general review comments. And do I understand our conversation earlier that all items except item 4 the applicant agrees with?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and with respect to item 4, would you address that for the board?
Yeah, I think that's just some discussion, and I think what I'll go ahead and read a portion of what that comment, it says, "No disturbance is permitted within areas where the slopes are greater than 25%. Proposed new utility services and driveway widening are included within the area of greater than 25% slopes. As an alternate to up to 15 feet of tree removal and regrading along the driveway, a short retaining wall can be provided." That's where we talked about the widening of the driveway that's required by the fire official to get the emergency vehicles into the site. And we talked about why we're widening the driveway on the right-hand side, where those steep slopes are, and where you can't do it on the left-hand side because of the environmental constraints that are over there. So we're suggesting that this is the most appropriate way to widen the driveway, and it's the best place to do it.
Okay, the planner also issued a report, Mr. Healy, that's dated March 13, 2013. And I think the one substantive area in the report that you should probably address is item 2, perimeter screening, and he talked specifically about the row of evergreens that are proposed in the front.
Yeah, that's correct. And I spoke with Mr. Healy today about that. And part of as part of the application, we're proposing a double row of evergreen trees along the front of the property. And just to describe that for the board, the property slopes up from the road. That area is buffered, it's wooded, it's a natural zone. And then at the top of the slope, it becomes lawn. That's really the front yard of the house, and that's what they maintain as lawn. As part of the application before, the DNR Canal asked the applicant to plant a row of trees along the frontage there, just to provide more of a buffer. So that's why that was there. Our intent is not to put that in an area where we have to remove trees. The intent is to put it in the lawn area and provide more of a buffer, not in addition to what's already there, not remove anything that's already there and put these in their place. So, yeah, we're willing to certainly work with Mr. Healy and/or the DNR Canal for whatever they're looking for as far as screening goes up there, whether it's a complete row like this or just to fill in the gaps, maybe some of the gaps that are already there. We'll work with whatever is required from either agency to provide that buffering and screening. So, yeah, our intent is not to remove anything that's there, just to add and enhance what's already there.
Okay, Mr. Healy was amenable to that, working out that in that
Yes.
fashion? Okay.
Yes, he was.
The Somerset County Department of Health issued a report dated February 22, and they really have 2 comments. They say that we need to do permeability tests, and second, that the well that's going to be abandoned must be done so in accordance with the NJDEP regulations when the proposed well is drilled, and we'll agree to that also?
Yes, correct.
And then the final report that had any comments, the DPW report dated February 21, 2013, says the proposed building expansion shall include drainage improvements near the driveway area along the Canal Road. Drainage pipe across the driveway should be evaluated and submitted for review, and I guess we'll do that also.
Yeah, if that's required, we'll do that as well.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything further.
Any questions from the board? It seems like you've covered everything in the
And can
reports.
we just go back to number 4 on the engineer's comments, and the reason, again, that you didn't want to put that retaining wall in?
Well, I think putting the retaining wall is going to disturb more of that area because we need to provide a minimum width on the driveway. And even if we put the wall right at the edge of that area, in order to properly construct it, you need to disturb behind it to provide backfill and also usually what they call a geogrid or some tieback material for that. So it's not going to save any disturbance in that steeper slopes.
Okay.
And the width, I think, would be a little concern for the fire official as well.
Why would he have made that suggestion?
You know, I talked to him about that, and I asked him that question, and he said, you know, it's just an option. It's an option that they could look at as far as, you know, you can put a wall up, and that's one way to do it, or you can just grade it back as we have it shown.
Okay.
Can that be further worked out between them?
Yes, absolutely.
Them agree on.
Sure.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I have
Did
one
we
for
get a-
Vince. You can go first.
Do we get a new report from Mr. House?
There were 2 reports issued. Initially, there was one on February 8th, and the most recent one is the March 14 one. That's the one that we addressed here tonight.
That was a written report?
Yes.
John had no issues.
Okay.
Vince, the house that they show, because of the variances that they need, is that the house they have to build, or should we incorporate that into the resolution?
You should incorporate into the
Okay.
resolution that they should build the house as depicted on the
Right.
the submittals, yes.
Yep.
And it actually has to be because they got Historic Commission approval based on the exact house that was submitted.
Looks like a gorgeous house, anyway.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, open to the public. Is there anybody who'd like to make a comment, ask a question? Then we'll close. Anything you want to say?
The mail.
No, I think everything's been presented, and we thank the board for their time in reviewing this.
Okay, we'll be open for discussion or a motion, or both.
I move that we approve this application, subject to a discussion with respect to perimeter screening with Mark Healy, and the steep slope issue in item number 4 with the engineer, so that will be addressed to both applicant and the township's satisfaction. And otherwise, the application, the variances as revised, be approved.
Second.
And the house as.
Subject to the house being,
The same as shown.
Now we need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Poll the board.
Mr. Betterbid,
Yes.
Ms. Grauman,
Yes?
Mr. Rich. For. Mr. Shepherd,
yes.
Mr. Rosenthal,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Chairman Thomas.
Yes, good luck with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Peter Jostin, ZBA 13-00005, hardship variance in which applicant is proposing to build 5,650 square foot building for an art gallery at 981 Canal Road, Princeton, block 20.02, lot 45.032 in the Canal Preservation Zone.
And Mr. Chairman, just so the board understands, it's an art gallery for their own personal use. It's not an art gallery that, the rest of us are going to be there, so it's an accessory use. It's not a use variance situation here.
I had specifically
Right.
inquired of Mr. Healy. I think that when we, assuming that this is approved, that be incorporated as a condition in the
Yes.
resolution.
And just as an aside, while he's taking part, they already have one building that already is,
And this one looks like it's smaller than the one that they've got already.
yeah. And they have a very nice one already that was able to be done via, without getting any variances. And the major reason is they'll tell about the variances because of the agricultural subdivision that was done, so, which is why there's this big, long list that makes it look like it's a big, a really major big deal, but it isn't, so.
All I can say is that it's amazing that I could live within a short walk of this place for 27 years and not know that it existed.
I'm Dave Schmidt, I'm a professional engineer. I'm here for the applicant and owner, Peter Jostin.
Have you got the right tap on it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's going.
Go ahead.
Okay, Dave Schmidt, professional engineer here for Peter Jostin. We don't have an attorney, we don't have a planner, it's just me. And for Peter Jostin, we have Sam Trower here also, if there's any questions regarding the art gallery. I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I'm familiar with the township ordinance, the municipal land use law, and I've been testified in front of this board and planning board. I visited the site and I prepared the plans and the applications that have been submitted before you. We have some exhibits. The first one I have is the display map, which is dated April 18th, 2013. It's right behind me. It's just basically a color rendering of the proposed, or of the property. And are we going to mark these as we go along as Exhibit 1, E1?
I would mark it A1.
A1? The property currently has a two-story frame dwelling, which is located in the center of the lot, a two-story farm building, which is located on the side property line, right here, a one-story art gallery, which is located in this area, two gazebos, one's located in the rear of the property, and the other one is located near the pool.
Do you mean the pond? There's a pool too?
There's a pool too.
Okay.
There's a pool, two fountains located in the rear of the property, one in the very back, and then one right behind the art gallery, existing art gallery, and a large pond is located in the north property line. The property is located in the CP zone, which is the Canal Preservation Zone. Property is located on the south side of Canal Road. It's approximately 800 feet east of the Bunker Hill Road and the Canal Road intersection. The lot area currently is 7.2402 acres. The application is for approval of a 5,650 square foot art gallery. What I'm going to go right now is a brief history. As Vince pointed out, there is an agricultural subdivision. The agricultural subdivision plan is the next plan next to the rendering, and it is not, has to be considered an exhibit because it is a plan that's been submitted to the board. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay, so the board has it. It's not an exhibit. It's just for your knowledge of going over the brief history. An agricultural subdivision prepared by Amertech was done in November 14, 2006, revised March 27, 2008, and it actually got filed around April 8, 2008. Peter Jostin originally owns lot 4503, 4504, and 4505. It was approximately 80 acres. Now I'm going to go back to the key map of the display map. The shaded area is 45032. That's the property that exists right now. The property below it is now 45.03. Well, that was contiguous. That was one lot, which was 4503. Then he owned 4504 and 4505. In the early 70s, Peter Jostin and George Rood started a company called the Griggstown Quail Farm. The Griggstown Quail Farm operations were mainly located on lot 4503. And that's basically, this is 45032, and an adjacent property, which is also on there, was 4503. The Griggstown Quail Farm operates mainly on 4503 as well as Peter Jostin's residence. So the farm, the operations of the quail farm, and his residence were all on one lot. The quail pen areas were located on 4504 and 4505 and some on 4503. He has some areas in this area, and then onto the bigger maps. You have the operation over here. You have his Bellamy Griggstown Farm, place where he sells pies and his quails, and then you have pens in these areas that breach out. The ownership of the land was always Peter Jostin. The company was both parties. In the mid-90s, George Rood began acquiring the largest lots, 4504 and 4505, from Peter Jostin. By the start of the year 2000, George Rood owned Griggstown Farm completely, but the main business was still located on 4503. In 2006, Peter Jostin, at the age 83, decided he'd like the farm to be preserved, and then better to subdivide the property as soon as he was getting older in age, and he didn't want to have complications with George Rood if he passed unexpectedly. So he decided that we better get the ball moving and get a subdivision and separate the Bellamy Griggstown, or the Griggstown Farm, from the residence. So the subdivision of agricultural subdivision was prepared. So Peter Jostin and George Rood discussed that lot 4503 should be subdivided to separate the Griggstown Quail Farm operations and Peter's residence. At the same time, lots 4504 and 4505 would be preserved. In 2008, the agricultural subdivision plan, lot 4503, was perfected. Lot 45031, containing 15.773 acres, was in Greekstown Quail Farm ownership, and Lot 45032, containing 7.2402 acres, is now Peter Jostens. The total lots by Greekstown Quail Farm are farmland preserved. Lot 45031, 4504, and Lot 4505. It's approximately 66 acres, and Peter's dream of preserving the farm has been secured. The agricultural subdivision did not put any restrictions on Peter Jostens' property. That is the 7.2402 acres. The agricultural subdivision does have restrictions on the remaining lands of the other lots. George Root cannot subdivide the property. I believe there's one exceptional area where he can construct one residential house. The agricultural subdivision did not go through any township or planning board, zoning board approvals to my knowledge. Basically, the property was subdivided, the State Agricultural Development Committee accepted it, and the deeds were filed. As a result of that subdivision, Lot 45.032, prior to this application, was in need of variance, and these variances are as follows. So what happened is when they subdivided the property, this is the mother lot of 4503. They subdivided the property to be in between Peter's, this is his farmhouse, these are his barns, and they bisected some of the existing barns and drew a line, and that was it. They didn't go into, are we in a lot coverage problem? There's no zoning charts on this. They just cut it in half, and Peter got 7.2402 acres, and George got the remaining lands. So at the time of this subdivision was perfected, no one knew that we already had a bunch of variances that we were going to have to request. So he was not knowledgeable of all this, and I'm going to go through it really briefly of all the pre-existing variances.
Oh, you don't have to do that. You can, they have my report in front of it. We can say that for the record, that, my report's in there for those 12 or 15 variances. So.
Don't steal defeat from the jaws of victory, my friend.
Yeah, they tell me, clearly, the board understands what the issues are here.
Okay. Well, I don't have much more to go. The variances that we need for the art gallery are as follows. Lot coverage. The lot coverage currently is 11.71. That's the existing. We're over the 10%, and with the proposed addition or proposed art gallery, we then have 13.64%. So we need a variance for that. Bulk variance is requested for the accessory building coverage. We're at existing 4.31. We're proposing 6.10. The requirement is 1%.
These variances really are technical variances, right? Because even though it's been subdivided,
Absolutely, because if we were talking about the whole property, there'd be no variances. They're only because of the
subdivision.
agricultural subdivision and the preservation of land. So, in essence, there's no issue. You're correct.
For the art gallery itself, we need a side yard, a rear yard setback variance. As the requirement is 150 feet, we're proposing 2 feet. And for the side yard requirement of 50 feet, we're proposing 3.17 feet. Back to the display map, in the green area is the area of his property. This is the proposed art gallery. We're very close to the property line, but it fits very nicely in that location. It's in keeping with the other structures that are out there, and it maintains the nice historic scenery of the existing house.
just out of curiosity, because I go to the Greekstown Farm during the summer to pick up vegetables, will I be able to see that?
If you've been there now and you don't see it, you will not see it, because the Greekstown area is over here. This barn is already there, so you're shielded
Okay.
with all those structures in between. Real quickly, again, this was submitted to the board. It's Jostens Trower Storage Facility. It was done by Joseph A. Gallagher. It is a one-story building. It is about 8208 feet by 7408 feet. The area is 5,650. It's a metal roof with sandstone beige siding. The height is 25 feet 6 inches. It's similar in style to the existing gallery. The art gallery location is proposed to the existing art gallery. There's an open lawn area where it fits nicely with the existing vegetation. Only electric service is needed for the art gallery. There's no bathrooms proposed. The art gallery is to store Peter's extensive art collection. Gallery is to be viewed by Peter. There will be no art exhibits, and at times the art gallery is shared with local museums. Again, just so you know what it looks like in the inside, I know you've looked at it. It's your basic floor plan. He's got different viewing rooms which will hang art along the hallways. So it's a nice.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Is that something that, I don't know, parties would be held there? Or?
I spoke, and Vince hit it a little bit. I did speak with Sam. This is for him only. Since he's had this art gallery, he does not have parties and shows his art off. It's mainly for Peter and for Sam.
Okay.
Okay, we'll call this A2. These are two photographs I took yesterday. The top photo is the existing art gallery. This is identical to what he's going to be proposing. This is the lawn area that I proposed where we want to put the art gallery. We're separated more than 20 feet, so we have no violation with the fire official. It's just going to set in there. On the opposite side of the art gallery is this raised garden. So the reason if we wanted to move the art gallery away from the property line, we would affect the nice hedgerow, the forsythia that's located, and this nice raised garden that is installed.
And isn't the location that you've chosen for the new art gallery, isn't that all the way to the rear of the property? So it's as far from Canal Road as you can really be.
It's as far as it can be. It's adjacent to the existing art gallery. We held a straight line, so it's in line with the existing one, and I think it fits in perfectly. And that's the location we request it to be.
I guess it would be hard to argue that
That 30
this,
mile an hour fastball.
this certainly shouldn't have much of an impact on the zoning plan when probably the only people who will even know that it exists are the people who are sitting here in the room tonight. So maybe we can shortcut that part of.
Okay, I'm almost done here. Stormwater management. Two proposed dry wells are proposed to address the stormwater management. They are designed to meet the township and state standards. The art gallery will not generate any noise, odor, sound, increased traffic, or lighting. The proposed art gallery does not add additional threats to public safety. By approving the art gallery for Peter, he's able to view his art collection, which is currently stored in boxes. With two dry wells addressing stormwater runoff, there is no adverse impacts to the surrounding adjacent properties. The adjacent properties, which I stated earlier, were owned by Peter and now are farmland preserved. No property available to lessen this variance. The proposed art gallery is in keeping with the farm structures that currently exist. The zoning is not impaired, in my opinion. I believe it's the property's unique shape is driving this variance. By preserving the Greekstown farm and the existing farmhouse, created an unusual undue hardship by creating a unique lot. And that's my presentation. I have township letters that we received. Mark Healy, Township Planner, February 15th, 2013. Minimum comments will comply. Vince Dominic, Township Zoning Officers, February 6, 2013. Minimum comments will comply with his comments. Carl Hawk, Assistant Township Engineer, February 14, 2013 memo. Minimum comments, we will comply to all those. John House, Director of Fire Prevention, March 7, 2013. He had issues about emergency vehicles getting to the property. I believe the access that currently exists to the art gallery and from Greekstown Farm, there are two roadways that lead to the front and back of the gallery, which I believe is sufficient for fire vehicles to access the barn if it does get on fire. So I believe that would be acceptable to John. Howard Shee, the Department of Public Works, February 21st, 2013. He had no comments. And William Goodhart, Franklin Township Sewer Department, February 25th, 2000, and he had no comments. So basically, that's the gist of my presentation. I don't believe that we're, like you said, the art gallery is set so far back, and I believe it's correct that we're not deviating from the intent of the zoning plan. The stormwater being controlled by the dry wells is not impacting, is controlling the water, so there's no negative impacts to the adjacent properties.
Any questions? Let the record show there's no public. And if you have no comments, let's
Nope, they're good.
entertain discussion or a motion.
I move approval of this application with all of the variances subject to the professional reports and with the condition that this gallery be only used for the applicant's private use and that there be no parties or events held there. Excuse me.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll pull the board.
Mr. Betterbid?
Four.
Ms. Grauman?
Yes?
Mr. Rich?
Four.
Mr. Shepherd?
Four.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the next meeting will be canceled because the two matters that were on the agenda have kicked, but we do have 6 meetings afterwards that are very full, so,
Right, during
So,
summertime.
four-
we have quite a few matters on the agenda afterwards, but the next meeting will be canceled.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Good luck.